mark, get set, go. Hachette podcast time.
Are we on?
We are on.
Let's do this.
Let's do this. Who are you?
I just can't even answer you right now. You're in a goofy dad mode at the moment.
Well, I feel good.
Well, that's good. If that's the cost of you being happy, then I'll take it.
When I feel good, I'm goofy and cheesy and,
Yeah, all those good things.
Which I will say I'm proud about because our oldest son, he's a budding dad.
Why do you say that?
He has his fair share of cheesy dad jokes at 13, so
Yeah.
he's on his way.
Yeah, he does. He also starting to sound like you with his voice changed.
It's a little weird. Sometimes we're hanging out in our room, just talking or something. All of a sudden I hear this man's voice in the hallway. It's like, what? Who is that?
Yeah, a few times I'm like, what is Brandon saying to the kids? And then I realize it's not you. It's really, really weird. I wasn't prepared for that. And I also, I have noise sensitivities. And so sometimes his voice is so loud. I'm like, shh. I feel like I'm shushing him a lot and I hate that, but.
Well, he's got a loud voice.
It's very, very loud. It's interesting.
What's crazy though, is I have a video on my phone from about a year and a half ago where you were out of town at an event. And so we were at the park and I said to all the kids, hey, say hi to mom. And he's like, hi, mom. That
was a year and a half
hi,
ago.
Mom. How are you today?
For the longest time, he was like the smallest kid in class.
Yeah.
Always. And for the most part, it didn't bother him. But once in a while, it bothered him. And I would tell him, just wait, because you're going to go through changes and you won't even recognize yourself in a short amount of time. And sure enough, he's grown like really quickly. His voice has gotten really, really deep. You would never know that he was the smallest boy in class for most of his childhood. And it's, that goes to making space for all your kids when they're going through puberty, that it's all variations of normal, right?
Yeah.
It's the same raising kids. I think it is what we want as adults and moms and dads and birthing and whatnot. So,
well, he's on the exact same growth rate as I was at the same age. Literally
right.
Like the same size.
Right. And a year and a half ago would not have seemed that way.
No, I didn't know if he would ever get to be that tall, to be honest. And now if he grows like I did, he'll be 6 feet by next year.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I don't even know why we're talking about this, but speaking of changes,
back to the subject
I'm
at
going
hand.
to segue this right into changes in postpartum. See what I did there?
Yeah, I did.
It's pretty smooth. So we are going to discuss chapter 9 of the Birth Without Fear book today, Postpartum Without Fear. This is, I think, the longest chapter out of the 13, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And obviously, we're not going to be able to touch on most of it today, but I am going to read bits and parts from it and tell you the different sections in it. I want to start with the quote at the beginning of the chapter that, for those of you following me on social media, have seen this before. It's okay to say I wanted this and it's hard. It's okay to say I'm grateful, I love my kids, and I'm also struggling and need support. That doesn't make you a bad parent. It makes you an honest human. We live in a society of glorifying super mom or super dad. And we all think we can just do it on our own. We'll just handle it on our own. We'll handle it on our own until things get really bad or really hard. And I just want us to normalize the fact that we can say we wanted to have children and also say it's hard. A lot of times people without kids are like, oh, well, you wanted this. Well, thanks, Kevin. But you also wanted that job you won't shut up and you complain about all the time yourself. So why is it okay for you to complain about your corporate job that you wanted, that you went to school for, that you applied for, that you worked so hard to get, but you can complain about it because you don't like your coworkers or, whatever. You don't get enough pee breaks. Whatever it is. But I can say I wanted this job and I can't ever say that it's hard. No, that's not how this should work. So a lot of this chapter is changing the conversation. Like, it's time to change the conversation. And I think that many of us don't talk about the normalcy of postpartum and the messy parts because, well, when you're in it, you're in survival mode and you're kind of in a haze. So when you get out of it, you might not even remember all those little details. You may or may not. And the other reason is because we're afraid of being judged, and rightfully so. It's a very judgmental world we live in. And we're scared of what people will think, or, we're scared of getting our children taken away. We're scared of all sorts of things that are very, very valid concerns. So never have we lived in a time where we have like social media to normalize these things and to change the conversation and to show what it's really like, so we can hopefully break through a lot of those misconceptions, a lot of those barriers, a lot of those judgments, to say, hey, like, I'm not the only one going through this, and I know I'm not. So, your mom probably did, or your aunt or your sisters, and I am, and that's the other thing too. We're not talking about these things. Like our moms and our grandma, they grew up in a suck it up buttercup time. They didn't talk about any of this. It wasn't until I started talking about this that my grandmother started talking to me about her postpartums. And I think we have a postpartum episode, don't we?
We do.
That we went into that a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And I think I shared that story there if you want to go back and listen. So, a lot of it is about changing the conversation. And in the chapter, there's actually a section called Changing the Conversation. And I say in here, we have to change our ideas about postpartum and the conversation happening around and about it for ourselves, for other women and families, and for our children. We can't keep going along as if pregnancy and birth were the main event and ignore those delicate, important first months and years postpartum. What we need is to normalize the idea of a settling in period and hold space for many variations of normal within that concept. Do you have anything to add?
I don't. I couldn't have said it better myself. And I didn't say it better myself, actually, in the book.
There's also a lot of self-care talk weaved in through the first chapter in this section. And, there's self-care without fear. I'll just tell you the titles of the sections. Self-care without fear. Okay, but what is self-care? Because I think a lot of us are like, self-care is taking a bath with candles and chocolate and a big glass of wine. That's interesting. I mentioned alcohol twice in this book, and now I wouldn't do that because I don't drink anymore. And yes, the quiet, warm, soothing bath is an amazing form of self-care. Baths, deep breathing, meditating, and taking a walk are wonderful kinds of self-care you can do in the moment to help you get through your day or week. Sleep is always a beautiful and ironic option too, as are therapy, yoga, reading a book, or whatever gives you some peace and refreshment. It's going to look different for everyone depending on the support you have or don't have, your financial situation, if you have other children. And so we go through all that in this chapter, that it doesn't have to be Instagrammable. It doesn't have to be expensive. This is a really long chapter. So I talked about this a lot. Another section, self-care when times are tough. And I begin this section with, when I talk about self-care, I know that some of you, maybe many of you, are in such hard places in your lives right now. I know you may not have a supportive partner or family nearby, or any type of village. I know money may be tight. Help may be minimal or non-existent. Maybe you're a single parent or your partner is deployed overseas. Maybe your baby is in the NICU and needs constant monitoring or surgeries. I understand depression and anxiety to keep you from wanting to do anything because getting out of bed and going through the motions of the day are challenging enough. Please hear me. Just as a birth without fear will look different to every person, self-care will be different for every person, day to day, season to season. And I go into, different thoughts and ideas and some of our experiences with that. Another section is self-care and social media.
Oh, yeah.
I went there. The next section is making space for postpartum self-care in your home. And then we have partners in self-care. We talk about that.
Yes, we do.
There's a section asking for help. And then the partner point of view that you wrote is I don't babysit, I parent.
Indeed.
Yeah, he's smiling. That's where we added that in. So there is a lot in this chapter.
It is a big chapter. Mm-hmm. I believe it's about 30 pages. It might be 29 to 30 pages, which makes it far and away the longest chapter.
Well, it has the part 3, Taking Back Postpartum intro that starts on page 129 and it ends on page 154. So yeah, it's a really long chapter and there's so much.
Really long chapter, but a really necessary chapter.
Oh, it might be my favorite. I don't know. I say that about a couple of them, but
yeah.
But I was very inspired when I wrote this chapter for sure.
Yeah, but it's important, and that's why this is such a good book to get for women who maybe they aren't pregnant or they've already had their baby. There's still the last third of the book is for everyone.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
It's for partners too. Reading it myself, reading all of the chapters myself, The last time I went through it all for final edits and everything, the last third of the book, the postpartum section, inspired the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
That's
a few
cool.
things I read that had me thinking and applying just certain changes
That's
back
awesome.
into our lives
Yeah.
and our relationship. And it was our own words. It was
Right.
well, mostly your words. My words, I don't think inspired me, but
Hey.
well, I'm not because they're not inspirational, but because I wrote them and I already know them. So
Right.
it's like it was already in my
Right.
mind. But no, some of the stuff that you wrote in there is it's
That's awesome.
5-star material.
And thank you.
It's a 5-star book in my opinion.
Thank you.
So.
And it comes out in 1 week. We are literally down to 7 days, 1 week until it will be in bookstores
Oh yeah,
across the nation.
it's exciting.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
So you can order it now, Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. You can go to our websites, harshi.blog, bertha.fearblog.com. And also, if you pre-order the book, you can then email Hachette to get 15% off the Earth Mama website. And I have that posted on my Instagram. And can you put it in the show notes for everyone?
Yep, it
I'll
will
give
be
you
in the
the
show
info.
notes.
Okay,
about
so
Earth
in
Mama.
the show notes on the blog post, we'll put the information in there about the Earth Mama 15% off their entire website
Yeah.
when you pre-order the book. And it's really simple to get that coupon code. And tomorrow, we'll talk about chapter 10. You do you, boo. Self-love without fear.
Oh yeah.
I love that. All right, you guys. Until next time.
Adios.
Love ya.